Hello, I'm Sam Jennings, and I'm a director of Berry Otway and Associates Limited, which is a UK-based food science, technical and regulatory consultancy. The consultancy has been in operation for 47 years, and I've been working with BOA for over 20 of those. I will be providing today a brief overview of the current impacts of the UK's exit from the EU on the trade of foods. So first of all, what is EU exit? Also known as Brexit, it refers to the withdrawal of the UK from the EU following a UK referendum in June 2016. It was formally announced by the UK in March 2017 and officially took place at midnight CET on the 31st of January 2020. We then entered a so-called transition period for 11 months. But unlike most transition periods, key changes couldn't be made during that time, as EU laws still applied. So label changes, for example, were expected to happen overnight on the 31st of December 2020, when the transition period ended. The original theory of those who voted to leave the EU was that the UK would, in the future, be completely independent of the EU and would follow UK law. However, the reality was that this isn't possible without the risk of losing the peace that was gained on the island of Ireland via the Good Friday Agreement of 1998. So, therefore, to try and avoid the great damage that a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland would cause to peace on the island of Ireland, a border was instead created between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK by implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. As a reminder, the United Kingdom is composed of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, while Great Britain, or GB, is composed of just England, Scotland and Wales. Because of this border down the Irish Sea, a technical divide has thus been created in the UK, with Northern Ireland continuing to follow EU laws in many areas, including food, while Great Britain only follows UK laws. I say that Great Britain follows UK law, not GB law, as although Northern Ireland has to follow EU law, it is still a part of the UK and therefore has a say in how the law should be implemented in the other three UK nations. So where do we stand now? Well, the UK is now a third country as far as the EU is concerned, although a special concession has been made for Northern Ireland. EU law that has been implemented by the 31st of December 2020 has become retained EU law in the UK, but it only applies in Great Britain. Any EU law that has been implemented since the 1st of January 2021 does not apply in Great Britain, but it does apply in Northern Ireland. It's a complicated situation, to say the least. The reality is that as far as food law goes, divergence can already be seen between some of the laws that apply in Great Britain and those that apply in Northern Ireland and the EU. For example, in the case of food supplements, 2 new substances have been added to Annex 2 of the Food Supplements Directive in the EU as permitted sources for vitamin and mineral. Thus, food supplements containing these sources could be placed on the market in Northern Ireland and the EU. However, these substances haven't been added to the equivalent part of the relevant UK legislation, so they're not permitted in food supplements placed on the market in Great Britain. The Northern Ireland Protocol gave special concessions for the first 3 months of this year to food businesses that meet the requirements to be classed as authorised traders, but these are mostly supermarkets and their trusted suppliers. This trusted trader scheme has recently been controversially extended by the UK for a further 6 months, because otherwise, from 1st of April, there would be more empty spaces on the Northern Ireland food retail shelves than are already being seen. For the rest of the food industry, however, the trade of foods from Great Britain to Northern Ireland In other words, trade within the UK became a problem from day one of this year. Because Northern Ireland has to operate under EU laws, foods placed on its market have to carry the address of a food business operator based either in Northern Ireland or in one of the 27 EU member states. This information was only confirmed and provided to the UK food industry on the 5th of November last year. So food business operators based in Great Britain and who only traded within the UK suddenly had less than 2 months in which to set up a registered food business in Northern Ireland or agree terms with an importer based in Northern Ireland if they wanted to continue placing their product on the market of that UK nation. For many small GB businesses, the costs of meeting the requirement for the food business operator address have simply not been worthwhile when compared to the income from the relatively small market, and they're trading their goods only within Great Britain. Another problem faced from day one related to the trade of products of animal origin travelling from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. For these food products, import into Northern Ireland is not permitted unless the product meets the requirements for import from a third country. In other words, the product has to be accompanied by an Export Health Certificate, or EHC, that has been correctly and appropriately completed and signed by an authorised certifying officer. Although the EHC itself does not incur a charge, the certifying officer will charge a fee for signing the EHC. Again, for many small businesses, the cost of this certification is not financially viable when compared to the income expected from the sale of their food products. These food businesses have also, in many cases, had to go through the process of becoming EU-approved establishments for the relevant product of animal origin, in order to have the appropriate ID health mark for application on the food product and on the accompanying documentation. All just to be able to continue to trade their products in all 4 UK nations. In terms of the reverse journey, food products produced in Northern Ireland can enter Great Britain with no restrictions applied. Similar problems to those faced moving goods from Great Britain to Northern Ireland also apply to foods being exported from Great Britain to the EU. In most cases, an additional food business operator address or an importer address based in Northern Ireland or one of the 27 EU member states has had to be organised, and the food product labels changed to include it. In addition, food business operators processing products of animal origin have had to become EU-approved establishments, and EHCs are required for exports of these products of animal origin. Border control checks occur on entry into the EU, as with entry to Northern Ireland, and the requirements for these border control posts, or BCPs, differ not only between EU member states, but also within an EU member state. One BCP might require certain documents to be provided in addition to the EHC, whereas another BCP in the same country might require only the EHC. In some member states, an agent of the food business operator has to be physically present when the checks are undertaken, whereas in another member state, their physical presence is not required. For a system that is supposedly harmonised, there is a great deal of divergence across the EU. There are other technical barriers that are also impacting on trade between Great Britain and the EU and Northern Ireland. For example, wooden pallets. These have never been a concern when trading within and between the EU member states. But if a country is outside of the EU, any wooden pallet used to take goods into the EU is required to have been treated to kill any pests or diseases. So suddenly, wooden pallets that up until the end of last year were perfectly acceptable to send goods from Great Britain to the EU and back again, can no longer be used for the GB to EU or Northern Ireland journeys. Food business operators in the EU have been very fortunate. To allow time for companies to adapt, the UK authorities decided to allow a staggered implementation of requirements for entry of food products into Great Britain. The planned implementation dates have recently been extended by a further 6 months. Therefore, as it stands at present, products of animal origin entering Great Britain from the EU do not need to be accompanied by an EHC until the 1st of October 2021. From that date, remote documentary checks will be undertaken. Physical checks on products of animal origin at British border control posts won't start until the 1st of January 2022. As for the need to have a UK business address on the product label, a transition period until the 1st of October 2022 has been put in place, so just an EU address is accepted on the label until that date. EU food businesses should use this extension of time to ensure that they will be ready for sending food products to Great Britain once the documentary requirements apply. It's already being highlighted by British food businesses that a number of their suppliers in the EU will need to get themselves approved as EU establishments for the products of animal origin that they produce, in order to have the necessary ID health mark. These food businesses will also need to budget for the additional costs that will be incurred for certification of the EHCs where such costs apply in their country. They also need to familiarise themselves with the documentary requirements for export to Great Britain, including the export health certificates. So, what have been the impacts to date? Well, one major impact has been the greatly increased financial burden for food business operators in Great Britain. Many have had to set up or facilitate a new business address in a different country and revise their labels accordingly to add this additional address. This has been necessary even if they only wanted to trade within the UK itself. At over €2,000 per label, just the basic label change has been a costly burden. The certification of export health certificates is an ongoing burden that will have to be included in every future budget. In some ridiculous situations, the costs exceed the value of the goods being certified, which is of course not sustainable. Additional problems are expected to arise from the 21st of April, when changes that are incoming in the EU apply to composite products. Some food business operators that have never had to transport their composite products with an EHC before, because they were under the 50% threshold of product of animal origin, are now facing an approximate 35% increase in documentary requirements and, of course, the accompanying certification fees that these will incur. The 21st of April changes reduce the need for EHCs for a few fortunate food categories that used to require them if they exceeded the threshold for product of animal origin, but these products will still have to be accompanied by a private attestation. In detail, it is almost as complicated as an EHC, but at least it can be signed by the EU importer and does not require official and chargeable certification. However, the introduction of private attestations has increased the documentary burden for many composite products that previously would not have required any such document for entry into the EU. These changes will of course impact food businesses in every third country, not just those in Great Britain. Delays at the Northern Ireland and EU borders are causing huge problems for food businesses, as these create immediate delays to deliveries of goods, problems with scheduling, and, further down the line, delays to the collection of other goods for the return journey to Great Britain. These delays are not only occurring in relation to products of animal origin. For some unknown reason, certain EU BCPs are insisting on stopping consignments of food products that don't contain any high-risk ingredients and that aren't products of animal origin. Additional documents are being requested and physical checks undertaken, even though there is nothing in the consignment to merit such checks. Many companies that used to send their products as part of mixed consignments are now paying extra to send them as a single shipment. Because if one product in a mixed consignment is a product of animal origin, the resultant delays have an impact on every other product in the consignment. This is especially the case if the consignment is refused entry owing to errors in the documentation for a product. Until stopping the mixed consignment option, some companies were seeing only a very few shipments actually make it across the EU border. Of course, this change to how they ship their product has added increased costs to the journey. In the case of foods with a short shelf life, the food waste incurred by delays at the borders has increased considerably. Some carriers are now refusing to transport any food products, so food businesses who rely on sending or receiving small consignments via courier services are struggling to find affordable means of transport to and from the EU. Further costs are seen with the additional taxes that now have to be paid as the UK is no longer part of the EU VAT regime. One of the biggest impacts on some companies has been the necessary and rapid revision of their business models. Because of the difficulties of moving products through the Great Britain land bridge, many food businesses that used to bring food from the EU into Great Britain and then send it on to Northern Ireland or the Republic of Ireland have now completely changed their routes and, instead, supply the island of Ireland directly from the continent. This has had a knock-on impact of losses to businesses in Great Britain. A large number of food businesses have had to give serious consideration as to whether the additional costs make it worthwhile to export their products from Great Britain to the EU, or even to trade their products within all 4 nations of the UK. For some, the extra financial burden simply isn't worth it. Some companies that have continued trading are facing increased costs of 25% or more simply for supplying the island of Ireland. For others, what they ship to Ireland has reduced by more than half, or they've just stopped supplying the island. Of course, this means that consumers in Northern Ireland are seeing reduced choices of food products when compared to their counterparts in the rest of the UK. I've not even touched on issues such as rules of origin, and there's still a lack of clarity in some sectors whether something is classed as a substantial transformation or not. But I trust what I have covered provides an indication of some of the difficulties being faced by food businesses. As I mentioned previously, EU food businesses need to make the most of Great Britain's extended delay to the inbound checks to get their business in order and ensure they're completely ready for the 1st of October. As a final comment, the UK was an EU member state when the original hygiene regulations were created, and the UK authorities agreed with the requirements of these regulations. Indeed, except for the incoming changes for composite products, the same requirements will apply in due course to foods entering Great Britain from the EU. However, these hygiene regulations weren't written for the type and extent of trade in food that has historically occurred between the UK and the EU. And it's going to take a very long while for food businesses on both sides of the border to adjust. Thank you for your attention.